In case you're not watching on YouTube, don't. The production is shit, and we stopped trying a long time ago. But at least our audio hasn't failed us. It's summer, so you get it. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by that guy who puts Stanky and Greg Sankey, Kevin Greg, and the guy who puts Titty and Tony Petiti, Alex Plum. I thought for sure this would be as many buttons as Greg has. Plum does not.
Oh, good. We are
people.
inverse button people.
How are
nice.
you both doing?
It's hot.
Oh, lovely. How are you?
It's hot in this bitch because we're not using the air conditioning anymore because it's not hot enough to justify it. So now it's just hot. That
I
makes
had that day
sense.
today.
Yeah.
We're in that in-between period, that purgatory of temperature.
Yes.
You can't justify. Do you have Nest telling you how many Leafs you earn every week as well?
Well, no, and I'll tell you why. It's because we don't have central air, so the Nest doesn't really help us in this regard. If it did, it would be fucking killing itself from.
It's like peak Nest time because you're just like getting one every day. No matter what, you're getting a leaf. You got to be accruing those Leafs
You
right
really
now,
have to
man.
accrue the Leafs. You're right. That's true. I'm
All
not
right.
going.
It's fine.
No, I am earning Leafs. I'll tell you why. The system's not on.
That's what I'm saying. Those Leafs are out there, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
You're
This is
earning extra
brilliant.
leaves by not using the digital thermostat that would be collecting leaves and thus
Oh my
drawing
God.
electricity.
Yes, the passive electricity. Holy, yeah,
Mhm.
wow. I need to.
Leaves on leaves on leaves.
Mm-hmm. I've really done it.
You're a hero. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Listeners, why don't you write in to tell me how much of a hero I am for what I'm doing for the environment?
And listeners, write in to say, Plum, why did you lie to us in the opening about not watching on YouTube? And then everyone that saw through that gets just blessed with that plunging neckline over there.
really plunging.
My
it's
word.
very deep. It's intended.
What's deeper than a deep V? Like
Ooh, the Dubelvay?
All right,
It's
let's
two
get into
Vs.
the show. We
the
want to
two
thank
V.
everyone for listening. And if we could ask a small favor, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. And of course, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Spartan_pod. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could go ahead and just give a like on the video, that'd be really appreciated. And feel free, indeed, to leave a comment for Alex Plum. No one came for him in his haikus last week or limericks. So
It's true.
you
It's
still
fair.
have another week
You
to
have
capitalize.
opportunities. That's right.
All right, what are we doing this week? Greg, it appears you are writing, so go ahead.
I'm just adding content to the ledger over here. That we go by.
Yes.
And it begins on the green wall where football always leads, including this
As-
week.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll go off Grand River, talk about things happening in the wider world of sport. And then I believe, Michael Jones, if I'm not mistaken, this is the final week of Twitter question
Oh my
competition.
God,
Is that
what
correct?
has happened to
Is that where
us?
we're at?
Is indeed.
So fast?
Wow.
Yeah. Just in time for us all to see each other.
Oh my
next
gosh.
week.
So we're going to hang out and we're not going to do Twitter question competition at the same time?
That seems like a missed opportunity, honestly.
How much do you think people would actually watch if we went hard on the booze during the recording and then added additional content where they watched us discuss the rankings?
Ooh.
That's
sort
good.
of the DVD extras or commentary type of approach to things. Yeah. We should do that. Put it behind a paywall. Let the dollars just flood in.
Flow in.
Flow. Yeah. It's
Several
fucking
of them.
pay-per-view. Wow.
All right. So, Greenwald, you were saying. And then what?
We covered it all.
You.
We were just talking. Michael Jones,
Oh,
can
Jesus.
we call an ambulance in
Quick,
Philadelphia?
put your address in the chat. Yeah. Put the
My
address
God.
in the chat. Sorry.
Michael Jones is having a stroke right now.
Won't
There's a
someone help
reason-
him?
Okay. Plum, while he collects
No, I'm
himself,
good.
shall we talk about a football
Yeah.
commitment that came through this week?
We're gonna have to.
Mr. George Mullins, Plum.
George
defensive
Mullins.
Back out of Florida.
Bushnell, Florida.
Tell us about the measurables on Mr. Mullins, and then also tell us about the peer group.
Yeah. Well, I'll also say early listeners of contemporary Christian music will remember George's great uncle, once removed, Rich Mullins.
Ragamuffin.
Thank you. And they might have been different races, but there was some different marriage and whatever and what have you. So Rich Mullins, everybody. Go Rich Mullins. All right. George Mullins, though, is 6'2" cornerback, 170 pounds. Dear Jesus, those aren't the right measurables at all to be successful at all.
He's a tall cornerback. You like that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, we need a couple more bucks on this boy. He's got to get a little bit thicker. But he had offers from your Oregon States, your Akrons, your Buffaloes, your Charlottes. I don't know.
Mississippi
Charlotte.
State, USF, West Virginia.
What conference is Charlotte even in?
I mean, not one that you want. Liberty. He had a Liberty offer. So we offset last week's Yale offer with a Liberty offer, and now
just saying.
UCF, you'll take that. You'll take a West Virginia. Those are nice.
I think the best thing for me was that he did an official visit at Illinois and then the very next day committed to us, which honestly, like, that's really how it should be for everybody. I can't imagine anyone enjoying that visit.
Once you see Bert, you're calling whoever the last person was that you saw. It's just immediate.
Will you take me back, please?
Yep.
Yes.
Please.
So George Mullins is is a composite 3-star, 62nd ranked cornerback in the country, 79th player in Florida, outside of the national 1,000 by rankings. Does play, for whatever it's worth, in the second lowest division of Florida athletics, so which is a reflection of school size. And I believe the town he's from is maybe relatively rural. So not necessarily getting a ton of exposure. But either way, this is, I believe, the first defensive back pickup for this class. Maybe I'm making that up.
Are we open for like a Darquez Denard situation in this? Like, wasn't the story there is that he was a real rural dude. The staff was there scouting someone else entirely and then was like, what is this? Hello. Who is this young man right here I see before me?
I will say that, like, his not that I watch a ton of high school highlights, and they are indeed just that. They're highlights. But the kid seems to be playing at an IQ level above and beyond the peer group he currently plays in. So real, like, ball hawk, a lot of pass breakups, a lot of interceptions on his highlight film. And it's not just sort of raw athleticism making the play. It's a very clear, like, he knew what was happening in that play before the other team did. So, whether he's successful, I don't know. Coach Martin, Demetrius Martin, obviously brought in a lot of high-end recruits at Oregon, different recruiting landscape, but has a successful track record of picking up decent talent, and there's some intriguing things about him as a prospect. So, either way, we'll take George Mullins because he picked MSU, and so we like that.
For folks who are wondering, Bushnell is what looks to be maybe 45 minutes northwest of Orlando, but more importantly, only a couple miles north of Krumakuchi. Krumakuchi. So happy for Krumakuchi, and we're really happy for that. I'm sure he'll miss Krumakuchi and his friends there while he's in East Lansing.
Should we talk about another recruit who didn't pick MSU?
I mean, I think we should, unless we're too scared to talk about it.
No one's scared.
Is that why it wasn't on the outline there, Michael?
Yeah.
You're too scared.
After one of us requested it.
I didn't know if you wanted to chat about it off Grand River Plum.
The old OGR.
Yeah, so let's chat about it. Caden Strayhorn, son of diehard Spartan, former MSU player, current color commentator, Jason Strayhorn, and co-host of This is Sparta podcast, which is tied to one of the collectives here. So his son picked U of M. I don't know. It sounds like, based upon what others have written, that the new staff didn't recruit particularly hard at all on Caden Strayhorn. I don't know why. He's a high 3-star, low 4-star. Like, as a prospect, is someone you wouldn't hate going after, and given his lineage, like, you would want him on the team. You would think, anyway. So I don't know that I need to say anything bad about the kid. But he did give some spicy quotes.
He did.
Very, very spicy.
A reason.
Yeah.
And I guess I would, and I know Spartans Illustrated did some reporting on this, and so, I don't want to talk too much about stuff that's behind a paywall. Like, if people want to go check it out, Jason Strayhorn and Caden Strayhorn were available for Spartans Illustrated to chat about his commitment to U of M. But I will say there was some indication that, a long time ago, when he was like a kid, the thought was that he would go to MSU, and obviously that changed at some point in time. I have to ask, though, I'll just say as a parent that I can't imagine my child going to U of M. Like, truly, that is unfathomable to me. Because if you can get into that school, you can get into some other pretty good schools too. So, like, why that one? And I'm just surprised that somehow that loathing, because Jason Strayhorn had the former players on to talk about the commitment, the transfers going from MSU to U of M, and how, like, that's wholly unacceptable. I have to ask, as a parent, where did you fail then? Because it feels like that should have been unacceptable.
I mean, it's possible that he didn't have a ton of options.
Well, it's interesting. Let's talk about the quote. I mean, I'm going to read it because I will, and also, more to the point, he's on because I can read, and also because on 24/7, Grand Rapids Wood TV or WOD had this interview with him, or anyway, got him on. He got a quote from him that was basically said, my parents were always very supportive of me, didn't tell me where I had to go. Anyway, I'm surprised people are surprised by this. Michigan State's been out of the mix for a while now. So he's sort of publicly, and that's a part of it. But then this quote, which I think was interesting. Michigan State, obviously, they're my first offer. But since this new coaching change that they had, they've been very scared to recruit me because of certain offers that I have, like Georgia and Miami, stuff like that. They feel that they can't compete to get me. So the way that they are is like, if they feel they can't compete, then why try at all? I think it's kind of silly, but that's how it is with them. And that's why I haven't been there on a visit. So I want to your point, because I think that's your question, correct? Well, no one has any value You don't know what there is no market. Everyone's value is what anyone assigns it to them. There is no normative value that we have. There's no free market. We don't know what others are offering for anybody else. There's no way to up the ante without knowing what you're offering. So this idea that we were scared because Georgia had put an offer out there, which we'll never know is true. I mean, do offers come on paper? Do they come in the mail? Do you fax them to schools and be like, this is what Georgia offered? Is that a thing? How does this work?
I mean, it used to basically be like that, but it's not anymore. It's much more complicated than that now. So,
well, so do we want to? I guess let's talk about. I think there are a few things we can talk about here that are interesting conversations. So we can talk about because we should talk about offers. Like, I don't know that how many of our listeners, there are probably some of them who don't understand that an offer really isn't an offer. It's more of an invitation for you to commit and the school to accept that commitment. Mm-hmm. And then we should also talk about, this is something that Sheehan talked about today on his podcast, which is the question of efficiency and time and resources. And so in particular, let's take it on face value that they didn't recruit him particularly hard. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Smith and company are having an excellent close rate on folks they have up for an official visit. It is antithetical to what Mel Tucker did.
Sure.
So recognize there's finite resources, can't have a bajillion kids. You're not going to get them all. Like, you want to land the kids you want to land. They are closing at a really high rate on kids. So maybe they didn't recruit him very hard because they weren't sure if they could close him, and they need to recruit kids they can close. But Greg, do you want to give a primer on the sort of offer, what that means?
I mean, it's all rather opaque these days, but Plum, you're right. Like, it used to be as simple as like college coaches sent a formal offer letter to high school coaches, and that was handed to the kid, and that was your ticket. You could accept it, or you could go on an official visit. One of, I think it was 3 at the time. These days, though, you'll notice that these schools have like 17 times as many official offers out as they have spots that they can fill on the roster. There's committable offers, there's uncommittable offers, there's offers that are committable with like an expiry date. There's offers that become committable if X, Y, or Z thing happens. These days, it's without insider information, and who knows if people claiming they have insider information, if it's accurate or not.
Right.
Without insider information, it's very tough to know like which of these offers are committable for Mr. Strayhorn. At the same time, though, it's possible that very few of them were committable. So what I'm hearing from his quotes here is that the current staff did not prioritize him for one reason or another.
Yep.
Which it does also seem like he and his family were open to that commitment. So, Jonesy, I don't know where you wanted to go with this next, if you had another spot, but to me, it seems like this is a bit of the coaching staff betting on itself a little bit. We are choosing not to recruit this legacy guy.
Yeah.
MSU has had, on one hand, a lot of success with legacies, Bullas et al., the Millers in hockey, that type of thing. Although not every Bulla, I'll point out, has been a massive success. But then there's also been a lot of clunkers out there too. There's been a lot of guys whose dad came here. Mark D'Antonio loved a legacy guy. And I really don't know what the hit rate is relative to the general hit rate of the population, but really it's only a few of those guys that I can remember that actually hit a home run. So I got to give the coaching staff some credit. If they looked at this, decided it wasn't worth a ton of time, they're making a bet on themselves that they can evaluate this. And there's going to be a lot of insiders at MSU, a lot of like old heads that are listening, that have the earpiece in, sitting in Spartan Stadium, listening to this kid's dad, that are going to be, if he goes to U of M and he blows it up, that are going to be like, could have had him.
Yeah. More to the point. I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm of a couple of minds. I mean, the first is I would love very much nothing more than to believe that in fact he's useless and we saw through it. But those things, and if they're true, and I hope they are, if so, I wonder how you do that in a way that doesn't irk the kid or like get this unforced error in the press in terms of like, just, can you do a little bit more? Can you make him, a little bit seem like maybe there's something there? I mean, I guess if you really don't want the kid, you don't want the kid, but like his dad is a name in the program. I mean, he's on the fucking radio every week. Like there's the guy's a guy. Like you can't not, I would hope that there's no disrespect felt by Jason Strayhorn for whatever his son perceives. And there may not be, and I hope there isn't, but like, obviously I wish nothing but the worst for this young man and his football career. I couldn't root against him any harder than I already have begun to. And truly, I wouldn't feel anything. So
for joy.
Except for maybe a lightness, a surprising lightness like that. So, I do want to know more about this. I have come hard for players, obviously.
What? No, don't say that.
You? Plum.
But partly it's because I look at the players as controlling all of the power in these dynamics, and particularly like, remember, I've told you, we will not cover a single player who's made any commitment in this program until they've graduated from the school, and then we may discuss their recruiting process. Otherwise, it didn't matter. It didn't happen. It's not going to count. I didn't realize that the schools, it's the same fucking thing. We have to accept their commit. This is absurd. This is egregious. Now I understand why players do it, because the schools it's always the schools. It's always the ones with the money who are the fucking worst. Always. Why is that?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like Mel Tucker talked about that he thought they would need to offer between 300 to 350 kids per class. And he ended up signing classes of like 10.
Of 10.
But like, but that number tracks nationally. And it's because, the reality is that what Mel Tucker was bad at, his staff was bad at, was that, okay, it's all well and good that you want to do the Lambos and the goats and all that other nonsense, but you also need to be texting your plan B, probably your plan C, who you already offered. Now, you told him, I'm not ready to take that. Like, we think you could contribute here, but like it's a weirdly very frank and honest conversation you have to have with those kids.
Yeah.
But, you also need to show them, like, we are interested in you. Just,
you got to keep it warm.
Interested. Yeah.
It's like abusive dating. That's what it sounds like. It's very abusive dating. It's like Tinder dating, but I really like you. I feel like this is really going somewhere. Yeah. It is going somewhere. Yes.
Might be you going to Buffalo, but it's going somewhere.
It might be going to Liberty. You could go be their second commit of the year.
You like Liberty. You're very Rich Mullins. You love Rich Mullins.
Just don't drive a Jeep there to Liberty. Just don't do that.
Hold on a second. I am so impressed and upset at how much about Rich Mullins you know.
When I roll up my sleeves, I'm not just putting on the Ritz.
Oh my God. This is something I have to, what's more, I am actually impressed, and I'm rarely impressed, particularly by you.
Of me, particularly by me.
And this is and mostly because you've not had time to look any of this up. This is like actual knowledge.
Oh, believe me, Plum.
Wow.
When we hang out, when we have our live episode,
wow,
I'll bring my DVD copy of Ragamuffin, and we can just have it playing in the background here.
It is the sleeves and putting on the Ritz that really did it. Wow.
With a little bit of Brody's leading role bourbon cocktail as well. Available in stores. Pick yours up today.
So I guess in some, We'll say this.
It's great.
Jason Strayhorn, great Spartan, terrible father.
That's it. Good. Great. Perfect.
Caden, wish you nothing but the worst. And the only way Jason Strayhorn can redeem himself is by actively rooting against his son.
By Jeff Jaluliing the kid one night in bed. That's all you got to do, Jason.
It's a great summary, and one that I don't think we're going to come to regret in any way. Shape,
I
or form.
doubt it. I doubt it.
We've never regretted anything on this show.
It's because I black out afterwards. I don't remember a word I said after the podcast.
Thanks to leading role Bourbon Cocktail
and Sunshine Punch, Orange Cream, Fast Friends.
And Virginia Distillery, VHW, and Courage and Conviction, and 10th Mountain Whiskey, and Bib, and I can't read it.
Or write it. All right, let's head on to the next section here of the outline, which is that MSU Moneyball Hoops rosters have been announced. Now let's go through each team and break down the pairings.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll just talk
What's
about
the
who's
minutes
not playing.
Distribution on every single one of them? No,
just Fears, 100% Fears.
Yep. So the big news is that Jeremy Fears is not playing in the Moneyball tournament. From what we can surmise is that there were 2 MSU Spartans per team.
Those are the rules. Them's the rules.
Normally you'd leave off, say, a Davis Smith, but in this particular instance, Jeremy Fears can and should be dedicating all of his time and energy to recovering from being shot in the leg. Right. So it's disappointing that we won't get to see him play, because I think that would have made us all feel better. But this probably is the right decision. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it also is sobering for the season coming up that, like,
yeah,
that season's going to start.
Yeah.
And your presumed starting point guard wasn't able to participate in Moneyball. So it's not just like, how good is that leg? It's like, are you back in playing shape at that point? And I think this might indicate that that's going to take some time. So I look forward to us. Got 5 months. Sure. And he only got shot in the leg, what, 6 months ago? 7?
Yeah,
was it over?
Ago, yeah. It was over holiday break. So
holiday break, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I guess there's still time, but this would have been a good opportunity to, like, get on the floor, run the team, you know, make some dimes, but we're not going to see
practicing
that.
Though. So, I mean, it's, you know, he's doing that with the team. And there is video evidence of him playing basketball, you know, pick up hoops. And so if you had to leave someone out, I think it makes sense that it was Jeremy Fears. I think I'm simultaneously saying, you're right, Greg. It is sobering. It's a little disappointing because you would have liked to, as a fan, be like, okay, everything's cool. Everything's fine. But if you've got a roster full of dudes and only one of them is recovering from an injury and it was a gunshot, like, maybe he's the one that obviously sits out.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's building chemistry with the team as a point guard. He only gets to play with one other guy. So
it's more of a getting reps, being on the floor type of thing, which he hasn't done in half a year now. But do you know who is going to be on the floor, or rather the ice, next year?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Seisman Sapala, because we'll get to see that.
Yes, we do get to see that. So there is still stuff going on with Moneyball. We will maybe still cover it to a degree. But we have confirmation from Coach Knights that Trey Augustine and Isaac Howard will be back next year for the hockey program. Still don't know about Artie, but for those two guys, they will be back for next year, looking to repeat a Big Ten championship. So that's encouraging. I mean,
Trey being back is huge.
For a guy starting goalie that was like the second or third youngest guy in all of college hockey, where every other team that was a 1 seed, their goalies are basically they're about to earn their AARP memberships. Like to have him back in college again for another year is such an asset, a boon to the team. So love to see that. Love to have Isaac back as well. Very encouraging. I know that the Big Ten looks pretty formidable for next year, but I mean, this sets up a potential back-to-back Big Ten championship season for our guys.
Let's have it.
And then speaking of people being drafted, Heath Baldwin has been drafted into the service of the United States of America after winning the U.S. Olympic trials decathlon. So he will be going to Paris to represent the United States. Won the trials in a Spartan jersey, which was pretty fucking rad, got to be honest. And I am so do not give a shit about the Olympics, but I will be watching the decathlon.
Watching the
sure.
decathlon.
And that's it. Like, but that's a huge accomplishment.
It is a huge accomplishment. It was exciting to read about.
Yeah, it's rad to have a Spartan there representing the United States, but obviously, representing MSU on a world stage. So, congrats to Heath and to the whole team that inevitably supported him, and obviously best of luck in the Olympics. All right, let's say a few things about some people that we like beyond Heath Baldwin. But if Heath needed to carbo load or just get some protein after a race, decathloning, whatever that all entails, he'd stop by Mama's Mercantile if he was driving down I-94. And you'd be an idiot if you didn't too. So if you are passing along that I-94 and you see that Clear Lake Road exit and you don't stop, you're a moron. Mama's Mercantile and Eatery is fantastic food. You can mention Can't Read, Can't Write and get 10% off your bill. And they also have fantastic summer cocktails that are out. We have a Twitter question coming up about it with a visual of the menu. When I'm there next week, I cannot wait to taste me some Mama's Mercantile and Eatery cocktails.
What a way to put
that. The LGBTQ community eats for free this month, so you still got a week left. Go get your free food, you gays.
You have to go in there and shout pride over
the whole time.
And over.
The whole time.
If you stop saying pride, unfortunately, a meal is no longer free.
You have to pay for your food and someone else's food. You get to choose, but you do have to pay for someone else's food. So that's how it works.
But you can get the 10% off if you say can't read, can't write in your failure. So
just try it. Just try it.
And then, of course, we want to shout out our dear friend Mike Jones, listener. We already mentioned our whiskeys, but I will say again, this is the third time I've had this on the show. The Sunshine Punch Orange Cream is legitimately fantastic.
He likes it.
Over ice.
The thing you might notice about Michael is that he likes all the flavored shit. He's got one. He's got
Mike
the
Jones
red
gives me.
one. I talked about blueberry rum before, which I don't even know if that's palatable, but he loved it. Loved it.
Bumbu.
I will say tonight I did try 4 of the whiskeys. The VHW Port Cask Finished, the Courage and Conviction, the 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit, and then the Bib and Tucker. And it's the Bib and Tucker for me.
Ooh.
It is the Bib and Tucker for me of the 4 of them. The Port Cask Finished whiskey had the best bouquet, but it does not have as smooth a finish as the Bib and Tucker. And so for me this week, it is all Bib and Tucker. Excellent finish, strong bouquet, very, very rich, but smooth, well-balanced flavor. It is the bourbon whiskey in the bunch. The rest just claim to be regular whiskeys, and you can tell.
It doesn't have a fox on it, right? Which one's the one with the fox?
No, this is the beautiful one with all the engraving.
So not the fox. Opposite of the fox.
Not the fox. None of these have a fox. The 10th Mountain is the guy carrying the musket. The Courage and Conviction is... actually, Courage and Conviction is by the same Virginia Distillery Company, but it is not what I would call good.
Ooh, shots
today.
Fired at the Courage and Conviction. We had a full Courage and Conviction episode months ago.
Yeah, what's the
fine.
proof on that?
The Courage was 92. The Bib is also 92. Everything is 92.
Okay.
Yep.
Greg, and you are...
Oh, we like the strong finish of Brody's leading role pre-mixed cocktail. That's what we like. Strong finish.
All right.
Let me just...
Was that from Mike?
It was! Brody's. Now on sale. Store shelves. Get you one.
Nice.
There we go.
Next to the Christmas ales. Pick it up.
Yep.
All right.
Probably costs like four
head...
times as much as a Christmas sale.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg is definitely not counting it.
Yep.
Let's head off Grand River, and we have an interesting topic to get to. But before we do, I think we need to give some flowers to Xavier Tillman, Sr., with his participation in contribution to an NBA championship with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
So obviously an all-time Spartan great. I think theoretically, I don't know that he would ever make his way into Rafters retirement, particularly because he kept wearing an already retired number. But
doesn't help.
but this would be technically one of the things that you would mark on your resume as making you worthy of jersey retirement in MSU lore. So either way, congrats to Xavier Tillman.
We're happy
Wish
for
we
him.
had him longer.
Yep.
So want to chat about, what was it? Ross Dellinger, Greg, had a piece this week for Yahoo Sports.
Yes.
Give the lay of the land for folks.
So basically, the commissioners of the various conferences were at a conference this week, and it started to become clear just the differences in level and in interest from the NCAA between what we call the Power Five and everyone else, including private meetings that the new commissioner of the NCAA had just with the commissioners from the what we call the Power Five. So as part of that, we get to see a lot of grousing from the other commissioners, and we got to see, I think on this podcast, we talked about the Power Five kind of separating from the rest of the NCAA. I had always speculated that the Power Five would separate themselves. I think what we're seeing is actually the NCAA is taking the Power Five and separating themselves and leaving everyone else behind, which I guess as an institution, maybe that does make more sense for them. And maybe I should have anticipated that would be the eventuality in all of this. But part of that is a potential expansion of the basketball tournament. Remember that the NCAA makes like 80% of its revenue every year off of the NCAA basketball tournament. So it is very high interest for them. And they, of course, the Power Five conferences want more bids all of the time. So there's talk of further expansion of the basketball tournament. And Jonesy, do you see the particulars of that? Do we know, or is it all just?
I
kind
think
of
we're looking at
innuendo?
Well, so this has been a conversation that's probably been happening for about a year now with some. It's not a whisper, right? Like this is a thing that's probably almost certainly going to happen, and that's pre this very clear desire for the now Power Four to separate themselves off. So, yeah, I think we're looking at an additional 4 to 8 teams is what's being discussed, maybe as many as 12. I will say, I'll go first on this. This gets people all up in arms. I don't care.
There it is.
I mean, like, here, few things.
There it is.
What's wrong with more March Madness? Truly, like, I beg you, what is wrong with more March Madness?
Yeah.
Second, the number of teams in the NCAA tournament in proportion to eligible teams,
which is like 358 or something like that. I don't remember what it is exactly.
I think lowest point ever. So there are teams that are eligible to theoretically make the NCAA tournament at the beginning of the season. Compared to number of teams in the field, it is at its lowest proportion ever. So historically, there were fewer D1 teams and same number of spots. So expansion gets us closer to a historical norm. And then I guess the last thing, I mean, and in all likelihood, as right as you are that, say, Oklahoma would have gotten in last year,
Sure.
so too would have Indiana State.
There you go.
And so again, I say, who wants less March Madness?
Correct.
Like, what's wrong with more March Madness?
More March. Yeah.
I'm genuinely perplexed by this idea that it's a bad thing to have more basketball. I would appreciate if there were expanded locks in some way for certain, say, we'll call them mid-majors. Like if your mid-major in some analytics category had a sufficiently competitive league that it gave you another auto bid, say your conference champ, not just your tournament conference champ. I'd be in favor of that. But like, I don't care that Oklahoma would have also made it. I do care that Indiana State would have made it, and that's a good
Which
thing
was
for basketball and them.
The argument that Tom Izzo was trying to make last year in his classic Tom Izzo way, where people were able to very easily misinterpret it.
He put his toes inside of his mouth and tried to talk out of them like they were an accordion. Like,
that's good.
362
like
total teams. So fewer than 20% of all basketball teams, college basketball teams, make it to the NCAA tournament.
Which is how it should be.
Well, but
this would keep it, an expansion of 4 to 8 to 12 teams would still keep it less than 20%. So
I think that's right.
There you go.
I think that's right. I think that's part of the allure. You want to be good. You want to get in. You have to work for it. If all of a sudden half the teams get in, shit, by the time February rolls around, they already know they've made it. They quit trying. So there's something to be said for the push and the pull. It still has to be competitive. You still want good quality. We get as good of basketball in the end of February and through the early part of March as we do at any point in the tournament, I believe, particularly in the Big Ten. So there's something about that I wouldn't want to lose. I hate what we are becoming. I hate the Power Four conferences. I hate Charlie Baker. I loathe this idea that the Division I Council is meeting with every commissioner from a Division I conference, and in a second floor ballroom somewhere is Tony Petitti, Greg Sankey, the ACC, the Big 12, and Charlie Baker.
Which, by the way, the ACC is almost going to be uninvited to this shit pretty soon anyway.
Frank, I mean, I guess the Big 12 will probably still be around, but you effectively have a triumvirate, and then Charlie Baker playing Geppetto. Like, I just don't.
Were they all playing Geppetto with Charlie Baker?
With him, yeah, literally, that's exactly what it is. Yes, yeah. Who has the dick? Anyway, I just.
He has no.
There isn't one. Yeah, that's the
Kendall
gag.
Kendall situation.
That's literally smooth. I don't like this. I don't like it at all. And I am respecting the smaller conferences like the MAC. I mean, but it's true. There's something to be said for amateurism in the game. I mean, that is what I'm missing. I like good basketball. I want to win a national championship. I like these things. There is a very clear. This is professional. These are teenage boys who are professionals, and then here are all the rest of the teenage boys who are amateurs, and it's a different system entirely. And I don't know how much fun eventually, when the gulf continues to widen, I don't know how much fun it will be to watch a big March Madness where it needs to remain competitive. The lack of competition is what's going to kill March Madness. With or without more teams, the lack of competition is what will kill March Madness. And that's where we're racing to, is more professionalism, more money, and much more amateurism, because these are the teams. And I think, this article that you shared earlier, Jonesy, really pointed out, I mean, it is March Madness money that fuels these mid-major programs. They depend on this. And so, but again, like, okay, so you depend on the money so you can go get walloped in the first round by Illinois? Oh, but for Christ's sake.
You know what's going to be really fascinating is because there's some thought leaders in the space that that they just seem so callous about what we're losing. So I'll give you a couple for instances, and then I'll tie this back to basketball. But so Alabama just released a brand new, beautiful video of a brand new golf course. That kind of investment, even in Alabama, probably not going to happen in their facilities in the same way. There are a lot of softball coaches, for instance, who are deeply concerned that their sport won't continue to exist at their school anymore. Now, the consequence of the House settlement is likely that these mid-major schools are not paying out money because there's not profits there's not real revenue in their programs. They're operating at a loss. What's interesting about that, though, is does that mean that they are able to compete in ways they weren't able to before on a facilities level? That their money maybe doesn't go quite as much to NIL, but does go to the experience of being a college student. I don't, it's just since they're not going to have to make the payouts, their donors are going to be giving money in ways that donors at, say, Michigan State won't be. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? Maybe it plays out broader in a non-revs, like, so, you're going to see more elite golf programs at a Western Michigan as a result of all of this. I don't know, but it will be interesting that since we're playing in different arms races, but we all have donor bases, what is the actual experience of a student athlete? And what is a place like Western Michigan able to meaningfully recruit with that Michigan State probably in 10, 15, 20 years, if we continue on this trajectory, may not have the dollars to provide anymore? Because they're gonna have to go on capital campaigns to update that dumb locker room in ways that you wouldn't believe. Because all of that billionaire money is going towards name, image, and likeness.
Is that still going to happen, though, after the revenue share of that directly from the schools?
Because you're still competing for your players, and just because all you've done is increase the floor for compensation. Like, that's all you've done is you've said, hey, schools, you're profiting off of an athlete's name, image, and likeness. You need to pay them for that. But that doesn't prevent Jennings, is that who it is? The MSU alum who's running the new Sparty NIL?
Oh,
Greg Jennings?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Greg Williams, sorry. Thank you. It doesn't prevent Greg Williams
Greg
Jennings, I believe, is on Jeopardy. But continue.
Yeah. Ken Jennings. Yeah.
Well, so Greg Jennings. Greg Jennings is a fictional NIL donor at Michigan State University, and Greg
has a lot of NF talks,
and is looking to unload them at a discount. But he's going to use that cash to fuel the Strayhorn grandchildren, and Greg will be able to offer an additional name, image, and likeness compensation package on top of the revenue share that the school is being able to provide. Our prayer in all of this is that the school NIL package has a buyout component that makes the transfer portal stuff. But like this shit isn't going away. It doesn't change anything. So anyway,
Jonesy, I can buy the argument that more NIL means less of an emphasis on the facilities, and I love that. Like, the facilities are stupid, so it should do that. That sounds great. I don't know that I buy that all of a sudden the facilities are going to fall below MAC level. I just don't know that that's what's going to happen as a result of this. But we'll find out. It'll be a grand experiment.
It in a different way. That maybe MAC schools choose to make investments in particular sports that compete. Like, basketball would be a prime one, potentially golf, maybe hockey. These are spaces where you could make
hockey's a great example for Western, or for Ferris or whatever. I mean,
volleyball, a rapidly growing sport. Like, I'm just saying, there's opportunities here. That if you've got a donor base that can contribute to your facilities, it might be an opportunity for some of these mid-major schools. But anyway, anything else we wanted to chat about this article other than Charlie Baker sucks? Also,
Ducky.
cannot underscore enough that he is not doing any favors to anybody. He could have done that meeting over Zoom after the conference, but he chose to cuckold the other 28. I like that they're calling themselves that, the other 28.
I like to picture them all just sitting in one of the grand ballrooms, just like, where, just like having like a scone, just waiting.
Yeah, they're all
for
mulling
everything
over
to
the
start.
thing. Like, I want.
Yeah.
Where is?
Where?
They're like the workers at the Bluth company who went to Catalina Island because they're all just sort of sheep. Yes,
Correct.
that is
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
Let's do the Twitter competition. Want to remind you, of course, you can submit your questions at Spartan_pod on Instagram and Twitter, or you can, of course, email us at can'tread.can'twrite1855@gmail.com. Plum, do you want to announce what your top 4 was from last week?
I feel indeed that I must. I am very, very pleased to share my top 4. In first place, in fourth place, I'm going to work backwards. Sports Ball Joey. There was a lot of fun with Sports Ball Joey's questions. Joey, primarily, we loved the French. I regretted you choosing the wrong language for the week, which is why you didn't get first, because it was the wrong language for the week. But getting me to slaughter that delightful language out loud was a beautiful thing. And more to the point, you got us talking about scissor lifts, and that is something that always goes over well. But something that goes over better than scissor lifts has to be my detestful opprobrium toward John Goss and everything he's ever stood for. And for that reason, Spartine 18770 goes into third place this week. Anytime you can get me to hate on John Goss is going to be a good week for listeners of this podcast. Second place this week is Beppe Plum. It was homophobic, but it was funny. And for that reason, it was worth it.
The best combination of things.
The best combination. You put a lot of time in your delirium and drug-induced stupor, Beppe, and we appreciate that with a lot of heartfeltness. But in first place, of course, has to be Beth. Oh, Beth, we love you. Multi-factor authentication is a thing that we hate a lot, but we don't hate it as much as we hate Jim Harbaugh's khaki pants. So it was a good rank order question of the week, and of course, we got to talk residuals for all of my accomplishments as a Peace Corps volunteer. So thank you. Thank you, Beth. Thank you for the gift that keeps on giving.
And we wrapped that with you do indeed have to provide residuals to MGMT because that is the
That's more to the point. I do owe them a lot of money.
Yeah. The royalties on your royalties. All right, let's do these Twitter questions. And up first is Mike Jones. Does someone want to share it as I share my screen?
Wait, who's rating this week?
Oh, you want to do that right now?
Well, I think they deserve to know.
It seems like we should know who's rating this week.
Plum, do you want to pick a number between 1 and 3?
I do. I choose 2 because it's between 1 and 3.
Greg, 1 or 3?
I choose 1 as the true number 1 of the podcast.
So that means I am number 3, yes?
Yes.
All right. 1.
Oh, it's KG.
All right. Greg
KG's
is ranking this week. All right. Let's get into this. Who wants to read this question while I pull up the visual for it?
Mike
Number
Jones
1 from Mike Jones. Y'all been to Mama's Merc? It's delicious! Exclamation point.
He did. He made it out there. And he posted some pictures here. You got him if you're watching on the YouTubes. You can see him. Fortunately, the proprietress of the establishment was not there, deeply disrespecting Mike Jones, and he has vowed only to come back during heterosexual orientation month.
Is that when you
all
go
11
through orientation?
other months?
Oh, I thought this is when you went through orientation for becoming heterosexual.
Yeah, it's March.
Compliance,
March weather. All right. Last up for Mike Jones this week. It's summer and your cooking should be done outside. If you could choose any outdoor grill / smoker for your house, Michael Jones, what would you choose? Charcoal grill, gas grill, Blackstone, pellet smoker, lump charcoal smoker? Lump is not delicious sounding.
Is that the charcoal? Is that the little like canister that you can smoke the charcoal in and then you throw it in there?
It's bigger.
Is it just like regular charcoal,
but bigger?
All right.
It's got some wood in it. And I'll say, just got a Blackstone here, and that is the answer. Love my smoker, love to death, but you got a big flat cooktop. You can do all sorts of stuff on it, and in the summer heat, when you're not looking to turn anything on the inside, that's the go-to. So.
And Blackstone's the thing that can get like ripping hot, right?
Yeah, so if you want to like do a smash burger on it or something like that, yeah, it's great.
So you've got the smoker that's low and slow, and you've got the ripping hot Blackstone. You've got all gas, all brakes.
Wow.
Okay.
And then I have a regular grill.
Poor Mike Jones getting me this week as the Raider, because truly, who could care about any of these questions?
Yeah, no food questions this week.
I guess the first one from Jason Fry is about me, so I'll let someone else read it.
Greg, is co-host Grooch more like former MSU assistant coach Jim Bowman or Ross Els? Bowman didn't even put forth minimal effort to his role, but Els was cashing paychecks far in excess of what he actually contributed to the professionalism of his output.
Wow, Jason Fry coming in next to last this week. Yeesh.
So Jason went with a bold strategy this week. Insult each of us in hopes that you remember the jokes about the other two more than the hurt to yourself.
I would love to be the Ross Els of this podcast where I just soak up money and I just continue to be my own incredibly inept self. That is a gift and one that I wish for myself every day. So I will take Ross Els. For Jonesy, is co-host Mike Jones more like former MSU assistant BT Jordan or Jim Salago? So I've never actually said that name out.
Salgado.
I never actually said that out loud before. Yep. Jordan was always plugging his second job, Mama's Mercantile and Eatery, on his main job, and Salgado was clearly the most professional amongst a bunch of derelicts and doofuses as coworkers.
Well, I think you answered it for yourself, given that you gave these choices.
You kind of gave up on the premise there, Jason Fry, which I will be deducting points for. I love
more pandering. They all thought this was Michael's week to score, and this is not working out for anybody.
I also didn't. I don't work there.
Well, you can't prove that.
And then finally, to listener guest Alex Plum, more like former MSU assistant coach Pat Narduzzi or Jim Bowman? Jim Bowman.
I already tried Jim Bowman. No. You already tried Jim Bowman. Do no other one.
I don't have Jason Fry here. Narduzzi would explode into a profanity-laced tirade at the drop of a hat. It was full of vitriol towards players, but Bowman barely paid attention and put in part-time hours. Actually, it ends up working.
My God. Both of these are so cutting and true. Oh, I don't know. I tried a little bit harder this week, so I'm going to go with Narduzzi because at least the profanity is always consistent.
And, very mediocre in your current role as well.
Thank you very much.
That works.
Thank you.
Next up, I got it. Next up, Spartan 18770. How will the Michigan State football program function now that we lost a 3-star recruit to our rival?
Fuck. That's a very good question. It puts it in perspective. It does. It's artfully worded. It is breveted.
So,
can't read, can't write.
That's how Salgado would say it.
That's how Salgado would say it. And it is tongue in cheek, but it's a little nutty. Well done, you. Next up from Spartan. Michael, what if Aiden Childs isn't, quote, the guy for MSU?
Well, can't get worse.
No, that's
like truly. I think we had maybe something decent in Sam Levitt, but we had everybody and their brother trying to pitch us on shitty quarterbacks. So like, it can't get worse. So, and I feel fairly confident that they did a reclamation project with DJ Gulu. Yep, that's how you say it. And he's not a particularly good quarterback. Like, if we're really being honest, they managed to make that work in that system, so it's fine.
Indeed. I like this last one because it's an oldie and a goodie. You're gonna have to dig
we got a
way
visual going with it.
back. Did
Hold
GM
on.
and
Hold
Shaq?
on.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Did GM and Shaq really try to gaslight us into thinking Shaq could fit into a Buick LaCrosse?
okay. To it, yeah, and good. I'm glad you're putting this up because from what I recall, his leg, yes, and you can see it. His leg is actually tucked behind his head in this photo. So no one was ever intended. You just weren't looking closely enough. He's twisted into a fucking pretzel. This guy. They had to have done a lumbar, what's the shot? Epidural. So they could just mangle his ass around to get him in there.
I think there's actually no floor in this Buick. They just dropped the cage of a Buick on top of him. He was standing there.
It's a Flintstone Buick.
Very
this
much
is good. This is
also,
good. Yeah, there's actually
when I see Buicks on the road places, I think to myself, how did you make it out of 2009? How did you not end up with Saturn and Oldsmobile and a Hummer? Like, truly, what does GM want
Hummer
me
came
to
back.
think about?
Hummer.
Yeah, now it's back as a GMC. What are we supposed to get from Buick? What are we supposed to know about this brand? I have no idea. It seems like
I think we've talked about this at length, Greg, that it's embarrassing that they're a sponsor of Michigan State.
It is. It is. Like, could we just do Chevy or could we do Cadillac? Why does it have to be Buick that's up there?
Even their commercials are like, really, it's a nice car. It's Buick.
It's better than you would expect of a Buick. Is it
you
good?
like it, right?
That's not what we're saying. We're saying it's better than you would expect of a Buick.
I think that the lacrosse was supposed to be big too. So this is not, not good. Not good. All right. Well, only one of us in this group ever drove a Buick. So I am going to move us right along to the next question. Thomas Ambiasi asks, Kevin Grech, what sort of non-football omen would you trust when predicting how this season will go?
Ooh. So, an omen that I am going to need for this upcoming football season. Michael Jones is coming into town next week. And when he's here, we are going to need to see some kind of major sighting in East Lansing. If we're at Crunchies and none other than Coach Smith himself walks in and doffs the cap to us over at our table, that's going to be a sound omen, I think, for this upcoming season. If it doesn't happen, it's going to be a mediocre season. And if instead John Goss walks in and doffs the cap at Alex Plum while we're there at Crunchies, we're going to shut down the podcast. It's going to be over.
To raise money for his homicide conviction?
Correct. Correct.
Can we, Greg, you know how we've done the thing where you have to mention that you work in tech to somebody?
Yeah.
If we ran into a player and or coach, I would like, for my birthday, for you to mention that you have a podcast about Michigan State sports.
Wow. That's the thing that I have to do?
It would give me much joy for you to introduce yourself as a podcaster.
I look forward to all of my future interactions with the MSU coaching staff. They'll be just like the previous interactions with the MSU coaching staff. Next up from Thomas Zambiasi, how will you be tailgating for the Olympic decathlon to support MSU athlete who qualified?
Oh.
10 shots for 10 components.
That's good. I like that.
Sure.
I think we could get away with that. Yep. That can do it. Yep.
It should be a different kind of shot for each one of the different elements of the. Yeah.
Yes, we should think about that. Yeah, I like that.
I'm
Maybe
doing
get a
my own
shotgun, a
segment
beer.
fishing. Yeah.
But don't binge drink, people. It's bad for you.
No, it's bad for you.
Mhm.
No me gusta.
All right, next up, Kurt Wisniewski. Why do Michigan recruiting experts like E.J. Holland put quotes around their name? I actually, I
think
don't
you know.
I thought originally it was the parenthetical thing that happened for a while with people who were Jewish online were putting, I believe, the 3 parentheses, and I think that was some reclaiming of some alt-right nonsense. But
Have I seen this?
Yeah.
the 3
that was
parentheses
years
online?
ago.
That was a thing.
I mean, I would say that was what, 2017, 2018, something like that. That was big.
It was definitely under 45. That's for sure.
Yes.
So
Yuck. Plum votes no.
but
I have no idea.
I don't know what's
know
up with
about
the
this
quotes
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because EJ's a nickname. Who cares?
Or maybe
And
it's
much like
because-
his reporting, who cares?
Exactly. That's where I was going with this. Next up from the Keith Ski, Jonesy, adult men wearing jerseys when not at a sporting event is weird, right? I would actually include at a sporting event, but go ahead. Answer the question directly.
I don't know that he was speaking to me directly, but Jay-Z has touched on this and said specifically that if you were in your 30s, don't wear a jersey. And if it's from Jay, it's gospel. So I don't know what to say. In fact,
that's right.
I think the song was "What More Can I Say." So
yeah, he also sang "Death to Auto-Tune," and as we all know, Auto-Tune no longer part of the musical canon of Tools. So yep, it's over. It's over for jerseys. Next up from the Key Ski, what are you drinking? Has there been any update? Let's do like moment in time. Plum, what are you drinking right now? This instant. You got 4 options. What are you drinking?
Oh, I have to choose? I'm so confused.
What are you actually drinking? What's in the glass right now?
It's the Bib and Tucker.
The Bib and Tucker.
Bib and Tucker.
Jonesy, what are you actually drinking? What is it? Live.
Tan Limes by Cape May Brewing Company. This is a Mexican style lager with sea salt and lime. It's fantastic.
Yum.
Fantastic.
And I've got an Athletic Brewing NA because we're trying to get sponsors for this upcoming football season. You know, it's a zero-sum game, this podcasting racket that we're in, and we're making moves.
Stop listening to Sheehan and start listening to us is what you're saying.
There it is. That's
you're saying specifically stop listening to Sheehan because you can't listen to more than one podcast. Come to Can't Read, Can't Write.
And finally, from the Key Ski, how would you shorten length of game time in football if you were made CFB God?
Do we need to shorten the game time?
Yes.
I don't think the problem's with the game time. The problem's with the commercial time.
Yeah, the game time's been the same for like truly 100 years now. The problem is everything else around the game time.
I'm going to assume that's what you mean run time.
That's what he means. Run time. That's fair. Let's do that. Let's say that.
And I think the answer is stop with the commercials after the kickoff. That's one. And then stop with the commercial between the extra point and the touchdown. Like, cut those out, and I think we're chill.
Mm-hmm.
The after the kickoff one is particularly maddening. That's barely a football play these days.
Yep. And I like how it just barely comes back from commercials so that you see it. And then the announcer's like, so anyway, back to Budweiser ads.
I would rather them do a live read through the entirety of the kickoff with like a lower third, like fine.
Put it in picture or something like that. Next up from Spartan 1963, for all 3 of you, what would be your drag queen name? Ooh.
Plum, as an ally, can I give you a drag queen name, or is that not allyship?
Oh no,
Tell
you
me
can.
tell me what I can do here.
Yeah, no. I think you should go for it. I think this is going to be a real toes and mouth situation, but this is worth watching.
Well, for obvious reasons, it's got to be Harry Potter themed. To fall back on a previous conversation,
Good.
I can't come up with one. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's hard. The thing is, they're always very. My friends just had a drag queen perform it at another friend's bachelorette party, and the drag queen's name was Paige Turner.
Oh wow! Did she have a
Paige
book?
Turner.
Was book?
Listen,
a big
it
part
doesn't
of the
have to be that literal.
Is she one of these ones that perform at libraries?
See,
children?
Closer.
Mm.
Some of the great, like if you watch this season of RuPaul's Drag Race, like a lot of the girls aren't even trying anymore. But a clever name, it'll go far. It'll go really far.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, your names would each be Lazy Susan. That's it.
Just with numbers afterwards.
Just that Lazy Susan 1 and Lazy Susan 4.
Lazy Susan 4. Lazy Susan 8. Poor Spartan 1963. One question, and this is what they get from it.
Patty the
Next up, from the
It's my
real...
like the bongos?
That's right.
Next up from the real loser of our random number generation, Beth
Yeah,
Amaro.
sorry, Beth. Oh, Beth, you could have had 2 number 1s this week. Shit.
Jonesy,
we
she
got a
starts
visual
by
on this one.
queuing you up. This is a visual one. See the attached image showing 2 tranquilized drinking menus, tantalizing drinking menus, pardon me.
Tranquilized.
Yeah. Kwai Beer
Hit that
Company
athletic.
on the left and Mama's Mercantile Summer Cocktails on the right. Choose one from each menu that could be named after you and explain why, if it's not obvious. Tantalizing. Most tantalizing.
Most tantalizing.
I'm gonna go with the sour outage because when I read it the first time, it said sour outrage, and that seemed to be right. But fruited sour sounds right up my alley.
You got fruited sour. You got pink boots.
I'm gonna go Pink Boots 2023 because clearly I'm a year behind the times.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
And I'm gonna go Grass is Greener because go green. And you know what? Who doesn't love some Saint Germain and a Hendrix gin? Yes, please, and thank you.
And is there one that's just water for Kevin?
No, there is Soylent in the fridge waiting for him.
Maybe Kevin, you could do favorite granddaughter.
Yeah, I was going to go with...
If you're listening, can you come up with a Soylent-based cocktail for Kevin, please?
Please.
And thank you.
Please do this.
I'll buy it. I'll live off it, basically.
Oh my God. I'm upset.
And yes, favorite granddaughter does seem to work for me. Next up from Beth, taking a stab at Plum's language of the week. Go ahead. Plum.
Is it Native Hawaiian? I don't know, Michael, did we choose Hawaiian this week as language? I believe it is. We're going to try this, Beth. Let us know how we do in the comments. Heaha keu papa punahele I ko hele anaiemsu. How do we do?
What was your favorite class while attending Michigan State University?
Oh.
I think I've told this one. Emily Tabito.
You did love Emily Tabito. You loved her.
Professor of medieval legal systems or medieval law. Who cares? I don't remember much from the class other than best professor ever. I would get a paperback and the comments in the margins would pretty much be, you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck. Why did I waste my time with this? A-. And she was easily one of the best teachers I ever had, constantly pushed you. She made looking at the John the First's fucking proclamations in 1306. Fascinating. Great teacher. Don't retain a shit of it all, but it was great.
Yeah, she was very passionate. like Elizabethan monarchy something on your recommendation because I just needed whatever that was, civics or whatever, a history credit or something. And you're like, whatever Tabito is teaching, just take her. Just take her.
Did
and
you like her?
And I loved her. I thought she was great. And I still have that textbook. And I have flipped through it sometimes today for no reason. Just I will randomly sit on the shelf and be like, oh, that was a fun class. But I had a senior summer on constitutional democracy that I actually really liked in Thailand. And after the study abroad. And that was a good one. So, Kevin?
I took a couple econ classes that I really liked. There was one around like really microeconomics, like extraordinarily small micro economies in small areas that I really enjoyed. It's that kind of stuff. I don't know. I wasn't in the James Madison College, so I wasn't exchanging classes with everyone at parties to kind of like decide who our favorite professors were and what classes and which sections we should be taking. Econ kids didn't talk to one another, and that's the way that it truly should be. Next up from Joe Ashworth. Yeah, I'm also on a delay. Can't wait for this to come up later. Next up from Joe Ashworth, the football recruiting class for 2025 has 10 pledges, 6 from within driving distance of East Lansing and 4 national guys. Has this staff proven their road warrior bona fides?
I think what's more impressive about all of this is that they have managed to establish relationships as promptly as they have with some key high schools in the state of Michigan. So I think that's the bigger deal to me. Plum, what are your thoughts? It's nice to be local again, right?
I think so. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I think they're still trying to get their sea legs. I don't necessarily know that we have to. Well, I don't know that it matters. I guess at this point, I just need there to be a recruiting class. So the fact that we have a recruiting class, like, have they proven well, maybe not. But this is a guy's first fucking season. What do you want him out in Wisconsin getting guys right now? Florida, like he came from the West Coast.
I think they mean road warrior by like literally driving.
Driving on the road.
Sorry. I think
yes. Oh no, then he's done it. Well done, him. Yes, very much. Yay, Mount Pleasant. Go Grand Rapids.
And here's what we're going to do is we're going to say Greg is not going to read questions any longer because he can chime in when thrown to. And then that should help pacing from here on out as it relates to his delay. So Greg, I'm going to throw to you. If Connor Stallions was a Scooby-Doo villain, what costume would what costume would he wear and crime would he commit?
Vacuum salesman costume, whatever that looks like. I don't really know. Yeah, that type of approach. And his crime would be trying to get people to buy used vacuums door to door, which was just actually what he did. It was not.
It's true.
It's not a bit. It's also not a character. It's just you are Connor Stallions. There's no face to pull off. Truly one of the strangest characters in college football history, this man. So that's what I would say. Very
good. All right, Michael. Houston Christian University has filed what appears to be the first formal objection to the House v. NCAA settlement. If you worked for a small school or athletic department, what would be your non-negotiables in allowing the settlement to proceed?
I'm not trying to be difficult here. I'm not sure what you mean by what would my non-negotiables in the settlement be.
What would cause you to be like Houston Christian? I'm thinking he's trying to ask. Like, what would your red lines be? Like, what would incense you the most about the settlement?
I think it probably would be the very mechanism by which the settlement was agreed to, which is to say that the non-Power Five were not active participants in consenting to the settlement.
That's right.
I don't know that Houston Christian. I've never heard of this school. I'm sure they're great.
Well, they're Christian.
Liberty, and so that would be my question though: is are they in the D1 or is this some bullshit, sort of in the same way that we have,
Right.
what's the cake shop that objected to the gays? Like, shut up. Like, is this that scenario where we have a faux aggrieved party pushing something? So, I don't know the consequences for Houston Christian University, but like I would have some questions about that. But if I was going to make a complaint, it's that, like, hey, we got financially tied into something and we're not active participants in making decisions. So next up is Cedar Village Bagel Plum. What's the best place to get a Mercedes-Benz in Michigan? And then
link, I clicked the link. It's not loading for me. I think it was deleted, so I'm not sure what it was.
One of the players tweeted out, "Where's the best place to get a Mercedes-Benz in Michigan?"
No. Well, I can tell you where it is. I actually don't know the name of the dealership, though. Hold on. I've got to look this up. And the reason I'm laughing about this right now is because my very good friend is now the general sales manager at the Mercedes dealership in St. Clair Shores.
Oh, this was the transfer, by the way, from Indiana to Michigan State.
Well, it is indeed called Mercedes-Benz of St. Clair Shores. So there you go. Nick Banuska, go check him out. Go get your Mercedes-Benzes from St. Clair Shores. Good God. Michael...
Why is Nick not sponsoring us yet?
He will be now. Fuck, I'm going to text him. Question 2, Michael. If you were in charge of selecting the official hype song of the 2024 football season, what would it be? A classic like Thunderstruck or Type of Way? A bop? A rock anthem?
Oh,
was that Kevin? Kevin, was that you from the
Ice from the great beyond?
Just turn your camera back on. The camera's not the problem.
And you're the problem.
Yeah. I think for me, I get the idea that you would want to move on from Thunderstruck. I can think of some funny things, but I will never not love the Thunderstruck that we all had, with that dumb Sparty coming to life from the lightning bolt and then slicing the logo in 32-bit resolution or something. Like, it was fantastic.
Jumping over the bike rack, I think, happened in the course of that as well.
Yeah, it would have been better if he landed on a fucking MSU parking truck at the same time, but that's neither here nor there. But I would go with Thunderstruck, hands down. Like, keep it. We don't need to be iconic. Like, let's not make something into a thing that it doesn't need to be. Winning is iconic. Virginia Tech's popular despite, like, Virginia Tech's intro is popular because it is what it is, but, like, they don't win, so who gives a shit?
Winning is popular. Okay. Next up from Just Sip. Jonesy, what's the earliest time you've ever had an adult bev at the airport before boarding? I'm currently at the Cincinnati airport, which is not that bad an airport. I've spent some time in what is actually Kentucky.
In what is Kentucky? In CVG, as I believe it is known.
Also, can we agree that airports are like a casino? Time doesn't exist there. There's not an inappropriate time to have an alcoholic beverage in an airport.
It's a liminal space. Like, the rules do not apply there. Yeah.
No shame. Anytime. Truly, I would never judge a person for drinking in an airport.
No, not at all. Yeah, and actually, it does appear that there may in fact be a Sky Club at CVG. So then there's definitely no harm, no foul.
So you're going to drive there now so you can go get a drink.
I'm away to Concourse B as we speak, so I can hit up this lounge. Yeah. Go get it.
Next up from Just Sip. Which behavior is more rude on an airplane, Alex Plum? Taking off shoes or listening to videos without headphones?
Videos without headphones. Videos without headphones.
Wrong.
Videos without headphones.
Wrong. So wrong.
Wrong.
Videos without headphones.
Because
it depends on what you do with your feet.
I won't listen.
It depends on what you do with your feet. I'm telling you. No, this implies that the sound is up. This implies the sound is up. Okay.
You've never been more wrong about anything in your entire life.
Do you not?
Is it the stink?
In the sight,
because of the smell?
Everything.
Oh, you
Oh,
can't see it.
It's that
No,
now
no.
I have to walk in your filth, and then you know what you do? These people go in with their socks on to the bathroom, and then they come back out and they track the fucking piss through the entire airport.
Yeah, but you have your shoes. We all have our shoes on. We're not bothered by this.
They put their feet up, and then the next person comes on the plane.
But they didn't. She's not saying that's what they did. She's not saying
they didn't.
Well, I'm not going there. I'm saying you have a loud video watcher, or you have someone who simply removes their shoes. And if they're wearing sandals, what the fuck's the difference? So I'm just saying, noxious noise is always going to be more bothersome to me than a foot. Okay,
Greg, I'm glad we're aligned.
Yeah. Do you not have noise reducing headphones? Are you? Is everything okay over there?
Okay.
Do you need help?
No, with my cord. Do you see the fucking cord, Kevin? How do you think it's going over here?
I used that to hang myself when someone took their shoes off next to me.
Next, Holly. Finally, on the topic of cannibalism, who in the Matt Sheehan expanded podcasting universe does each host think is the most delicious? How would you cook them, and what drink would you pair with that?
Well, I'm going to answer this one. Kevin would be boiled for sure. Didn't we talk about this last week? I thought we made a joke about you turning into bone broth.
Yeah, there's been a lot of eating each other content over the last couple of weeks. It is that time of year. Yeah.
Ooh, I would cook Michael on his Blackstone because we can't hear enough about it. And I would just put myself into like a human-sized microwave because I gotta imagine that would be an exciting way to explode, you know? So
I like to think that the part of skin with your mustache would just go against the window of the microwave, just
good. That's good.
Splat, and it would just be mustache, and people would know.
As someone's watching, unfazed.
Oh yeah, no, you're holding eye contact for sure. Yeah, that's good. Good. All right, next up, Beppe Plum. Which mid-2000s in-game quote is better? First, from a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, quote, a lot of quarterbacks have felt his sack. Speaking of, I don't know who W sapped. Warren Sapp. Or from an MSU versus OSU hockey game, John Dingle, the junior from Shaker Heights, and he's quite good with wood in his hands. Either way, I laugh at both quite often. It's good.
The Dingle really makes it on that one. Like it wasn't just anyone, the hockey one. Yeah. It was John Dingle.
And the Shaker sort of there's a little bit with the Shaker Heights.
Shaker Heights, yeah. I wish I hadn't fumbled the bag with Warren Sapp, but you shouldn't have stuck it in the middle of the quote, damn it. A lot of quarterbacks have felt his sack. I mean, that's really fucking stupid. So, good. Great. Well, rant of the week from Beppe is Angel Reese, just the girl version of me. Very adorable, hordelicious attitude. Us combined maybe as amazing as Plum singing Bella Ciao, originale in Italiano, ovviamente grazie per I miei punti bonus italiani. I hope my Italian is correct. I do have horslexia. Now you know, combo. Great. Okay.
For as many points as you may or may not have gotten with Italian there, we've decided to avoid the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark conversation entirely. And so, unfortunately, you've been awarded five NF Tucks.
You've been awarded no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
You have to hold those NF Tucks and try to sell them online. Next up, Momopoly. Why did your 6 minutes and 90 seconds rules explanation, Plum, that's for you and I, for your quote-unquote summer Twitter competition last longer than the actual, and let's call it what it really was, spring competition? And was it because of A, Jonesy's dramatic pauses, Greg's audio, or Plum's guest status?
Guest status. God, Susan,
Greg, Greg, do you want to answer that?
We did it just to bother you, Momopoly. You in particular. And it is summer competition. My word. My word, Susan.
I don't know. I don't know, Susan. I'm feeling pretty good about having ranked you 13th last week. after that indignity.
Jonesy, do you want to take this next one from Momopoly?
Yeah, and next up, paying attention to noting that she really did listen to. Wait, hold on. Why did I missed this? Why did your 6 minutes and 90 seconds rule?
No, don't give her the satisfaction.
That's not a real thing. That's 7.5 minutes. Momopoly.
To do with the other minute and 99 seconds.
Did you just want to shoehorn a 69 in there? It's very confusing, Momopoly.
Whoa.
Is someone hitting enter a bunch?
Yeah, I think some things are happening. All right. Well, anyway,
Momopoly proves that she listened to the show because she. Now I have to pull it up because someone got rid of it somehow.
Yeah, what are you doing over there, Plum?
It's not me. I've not touched
sabotaging
anything.
The show.
I didn't do anything. I've been trying to undo it.
All right, here we go. I'm going to share it so everybody can see. No, I'm not going to do that. She says, counter-challenge the controversial. Request from the MSU Board of Trustees in considering shortening the time allowed for public comment, and who best sums up the argument for or against. Now, for those who said it sounds like Momopoly is unwell, she is. But what she did there was an acrostic. CRCW, can't read, can't write, which is a callback to the 6 minutes and 90 seconds of heaven that was Plum and I explaining.
And therefore, Kevin has to give her first place this week, and that is deeply distressing to all of us.
So we didn't add this to the outline in anticipation of this bizarre formatting. So MSU Board of Trustees has discussed the idea of shortening the public comment section. I think this question is asking us for an argument in favor of and an argument in favor against. I'm going to go ahead and say that they still get an awful lot of reclaim MSU and fill in the swimming pool with water, folks.
Yeah.
So,
but and so that's good. And now I'll give you the other one, which is it's your fucking job. You don't have to be a trustee. You don't have to. You get a lot of perks for it. You don't get paid shit. We get that. But you don't have to do this gig. You get it. You do it because you have an ego and because you want to get all these. You chose to because you want to do the swanky football and basketball, and you get the suites and you get all the shit. But it means you show up however often they meet, probably monthly, and you listen to Absolute Maroons wax poetic about why the grass is the wrong color green at the Carillon. So shut the fuck up. Do your
Leslie,
job.
no.
Literally, I mean, it's just shut up. Like, you guys suck at so many fucking things. You just suck. You are so good at being fucking the worst, and now you just don't want to do your fucking job. Like, we already knew that. But Christ, could you just pretend? They are fucking horrible to a person.
And if you didn't suck so much, there'd be way fewer crazies that show up and give you the Parks and Rec treatment. So this is
honestly, you embrace the crazies. Embracing the crazies actually makes it easy. They're like a Teflon that you get coated with. Every time you get a truly insane person, and I'm not talking swimming,
you become more resilient.
I'm talking about like the more unhinged it gets, the less stuff lands on you. But by doing validate things, I mean, I did the pro to do the pro, but like I'm with Plum.
Hate them.
Last up, Upper Deck Jerk Guy. Greg, what type of cars generally hold the biggest douches, and what do you drive? Zoom.
I think we can all agree. What is that old truck that was like half car, half truck? That like
the El Camino?
No one.
If
only
there was a modern version of it made by a Korean automaker.
If such a thing were to exist, I think truly it would be the douchiest single vehicle on the planet. But fortunately, no one has ever dared to, bring back the El Camino, and who would ever buy it if they did? So I think that would be the answer if any such thing existed. But Plum, you're out of the Subaru, right? We're out of the Jeep. We're into the Subaru. Is that what we're in right now?
I'm into the Subaru. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Subarus are a lesbian car. I don't know. I think calling that a douche car is a little homophobic, if we're being honest.
Not the right
month. Are you sad you don't get the ducks?
I don't get the ducks. It's true. And honestly, it is the Jeep. And the answer is a Jeep Wrangler. And I love a Jeep, and I would love to have one again. But the answer has to be Jeep Wrangler.
How about a Jeep truck? Because that's got to be worse than the. Because
not.
You want to talk about like putting a hat on a hat? That's an El Camino, but with a Jeep.
Mm-hmm. And then they call it the Gladiator, right? Like,
yeah,
guys,
it's all wrong.
I think we joked a long time ago that that's what Bert Bielema drives.
Oh, 100% true. Yeah. Yep.
It's for boat people.
With like a canoe sticking out of the back of it in a very
it's for boat people.
Wrong way. Next up from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy, what is the best fast food restaurant and which is the worst?
If you go into Mama's Mercantile and Eatery, you can get food pretty quick over on Clear Lake Road.
Pretty quick.
Are we allowed to say Chick-fil-A this month? Is that still?
Where are we on that? Yeah, I think
that's your best. That's your best.
What's better fast food than Chick-fil-A? Something like
Wendy's?
All of them.
Yeah, Wendy's.
Taco Bell.
We actively hate Chick-fil-A on this podcast. Is that what I'm learning?
No, I do. I actually do enjoy a little Chick-fil-A. I love their sauce. I love their sauces.
Fine.
So good.
Okay. What do you got, Jonesy? What do you got, Mr.
It's Wendell's.
Fast food.
Wendell's for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wendell's.
I mean, so I assume something like a Shake Shack is out. That's fast casual.
Yeah, we're past fast food at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, what about an In-N-Out?
No, I think you have to be able to find this in like Cadillac, Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay. So Speedway, like.
Oh my god, just the worst. Just the worst. You know what? To go from being like, "Ooh, what about an In-N-Out?" to be like, "Oh, can you imagine Cadillac, Michigan?" Oh God, he's such a loathsome creature, Mike Jones. When he tries to be loathsome, he does it in such a way that like is even more loathsome. Yeah,
yep, that's good.
And finally, from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy, who's getting first place for just outing the gremlin that is Mike Jones. What is the most road rage you've ever had? Make it a story worth telling by Midtown. Oh, wrong podcast.
I don't know. What is that in reference to?
This would be a Dagwoods podcast anyway, so we would never do Midtown.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. Jonesy, what's the worst road rage you? Well, I don't know. I'm asking that. Plum, what's the worst road rage you've ever had?
I don't know. I mean, yesterday, was it yesterday? 2 days ago?
It was very recent, the most.
No. We were at the Home Depot parking lot and I was trying to get into a spot, but then there was a car like coming at me and like he was just trying to leave and I like needed to park, but he was like right there and I had the blinker on and he's just looking at me and I'm like, what are you doing? That's Detroit. That's living and driving in Detroit. And it's just, he didn't care. He just sat there just looking. And so then we finally were able to kind of get around each other. And then I just continued to stare at him as he drove by. And Jason was like hitting me. Like, they will kill you here. They're going to get out and just start to throw down. And you can do nothing. I can't help you. I'm going to have to just drive away. And I was like, this is how it is. So anyway, that's my life.
Yeah, you don't want a Jacksonville.
You bring a different kind of angry though. That like the energy level of it is
it's a little. It is. I think it's disturbing to people.
High, right? Like it's
yeah, little unhinged.
Like this isn't meant to be at you, but like in the same way that a smaller dog can like come so loud and ferociously that you don't notice.
That's right.
Right in the moment. I would not want to get you coming hot out of a car. That would be not great. Don't love that.
I don't know.
What I did love was this. Despite Greg and that slander at the end, Unnecessary slander.
Yeah, wholly unnecessary.
Just, you know what? Whatever. Plum, go green. I think in 30 seconds, Greg will be able to respond to this. So in the meantime,
go white.
Greg, go green.
Go white, gentlemen.